Okay, so let's get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Trina Pollard, and I'm the CEO of Actsafe Safety Association. I'd like to welcome you all to this wonderful webinar on this wonderful Friday morning. Before I get started, I would like to first acknowledge that we are on the traditional Indigenous lands of Squamish, Stalo, Kikite, Tsleil-Waututh, and Chemainus. I'd like to encourage you all following this session to visit the Native Land digital website at native-land.ca and search for the territory on which you work, live, and play. What's unique about this topic, we're here today to learn about the Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committees within the BC Arts and Entertainment industry. But what's unique about this topic is we are speaking to the general workforce audience. Our goal is to raise awareness with the general workforce about what a JOSH is and how you can interact with that committee and how they can be there to support your workplace and improving its safety. We have about 100 participants registered today. I know we have about 45 so far that have signed in, but we're going to get started. Before we launch into the webinar, I'm going to go over some housekeeping items. So we've got about an hour today. About 45 minutes are going to be a presentation delivered by the lovely Natalie Diaz, one of our safety advisors. And we'll finish with a 15-minute Q&A period, a question and answer period. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the chat function. Just add your questions there as you have them, but I'm going to wait until Natalie's finished her presentation to start going through and asking the safety advisors to answer them. All participants will be muted throughout the presentation, and this will be recorded. We post our webinars on our website after we're done presenting them. And we will also be emailing that recording out to anybody who wasn't able to sign in today. And the last thing is you will also receive a survey. We're committed to always continually improving. So it really helps us if you complete that survey and share both your positive feedback to reinforce what you think we're doing well as any constructive feedback you have, topic requests for future webinars. Please engage with us. We will continue to do better based on the feedback you share. So next, what is Actsafe? A little bit about what it is and what we do. We are a BC-based not-for-profit health and safety association. We've been around since 1998. So this year is our 25th birthday. It's a really special year, and we've got all sorts of special things planned because of it. We support BC's arts and entertainment industries with the ultimate goal of preventing injuries, illnesses, and fatalities in workers. And when I say BC arts and entertainment industry, it covers everything from motion picture, television, performing arts, live event venues, special event production companies, you name it. And we do this by serving various different audience groups. So we can support employers, supervisors, workers. We also partner a lot with other associations and unions and other groups. Some of the programs that we offer, we have over 23 courses and workshops, everything from OFA level 1, occupational first aid level 1, to motion picture, general safety awareness, to anti-bullying and harassment. And we also have a 2-day Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committee training. And that's really for the audience of anybody who's going to be a member of a JOSH committee. That's a great course to take. Most of our courses and workshops are free, or they're highly subsidized by our operational budget. On our website, you'll also find a ton of educational resources and practical ones too. So things like safety bulletins, but then also forms and checklists and template policies and template procedures. So really highly practical ones. We have services. So we have an advisory service where you can connect with our safety advisors confidentially and for free, and ask them any questions you have. we'll be giving their contact details at the end of the webinar, and I really encourage you to reach out to them. We are not obliged to, you know, tell WorkSafe anything or anything like that. So you can really trust that as your wingman, your wing person, and let us know how we can help. The safety team also consults with the industry. So they'll go out to productions, they'll help do gap analysis of a safety program, they'll help productions build a safety program. We've got specialized services, like we can do respirator fit testing, we can do hearing testing, and we'll be expanding this service delivery this year. We also have equipment rental, safety equipment rental, so AEDs. We have safety products for sale at a discounted rate. So things like the level 1 first aid kits that are required on your work site, you can buy those from us and know that they're good quality. Nothing's expired. They might have industry specific equipment in there, and it's at the best rate that we could possibly get because we are a nonprofit, so we are not out to build profit. What else? We also have an annual conference, so we're about to promote this in a couple weeks, but it will likely be happening in October, and it'll be our 25th anniversary. So we're going big this year. Keep an eye out for that. And we have campaigns like Actsafe Injury Prevention Week, which usually happens in the spring-ish, and we'll go out to different studios and different production locations with a like a food truck, a safety, like a cafe, safety cafe, I think we call it. We give out free coffees. My team's there answering all your questions, giving out free stuff. So look out for Actsafe Injury Prevention Week. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Natalie Diaz. So Natalie is a safety advisor for Actsafe. She's been working in the safety team since 2000, or working in safety since 2008. She's been working with Actsafe for 3 years. She's got wonderful education, an OHS diploma, so occupational health and safety. She's got a Bachelor of Arts in Science. She's got a leadership certificate, and she specializes in occupational hygiene. In addition to this, it has amazing emotional intelligence, and I particularly leverage her all the time because I trust her judgment. So this character description here, we as a team went through a little survey recently to learn a little bit more about ourselves, and these are some of the wonderful strengths she brings to the table. Okay, with that, Natalie, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Trina, for the warm welcoming. Let's start with I would like to welcome you all first. Thank you for being here and talk about the Joint Committee. So can you next, please, just take a look on the learn outcomes here, what we would like to explain to you and define to you some things. So explain the role and the scope of the Joint Committee members, define when, who, and how a joint committee is created. That is very important, especially for the dynamic of our industry, to define that, define the purpose of the joint committee and where to find the minutes. And then we will go to determine who to go with the safety concern. So yeah, that is another thing that we need to keep in mind. And I will be touching on that for you too. And identify how and when the worker interacts with the joint committee. Next, please. So what it is a joint committee? So just for you to know, here we have a very brief description of what the committee is, what they do. The joint committee, it is a committee which brings together representatives of the employer side and the worker side, right? When we talk about the worker side, unions will be on that scope as well, giving them a way to work together to identify and find solutions to health and safety issues in the workplace. So it supports the employer duties to ensure a safe and healthy workplace. So the joint committee, they are the second eyes from the employer, so they will bring solutions, suggestions, and recommendations on behalf of the worker to trying to improve the workplace. So that is their goal. That's why they are created. Next, please. So here for you to keep in mind, when your organization need a joint committee, so the regulation, they are very specific on that. So if you would like to take a look on the regulation, it is on the Workers' Compensation Act, Part 2, Division 5, Section 31. If Lisa, can you post that on our chat, will be helpful. It is a must for the workers when they have more than 20 workers on the work site. So keep that in mind. You need to form a joint committee when you have more than 20 workers, and also when you are working more than 1 month. So that is very important for our industry when we have short-term productions. But if you have more than 20 workers and you are working a little bit over than a month, you should have a joint committee. However, if you don't have 20 workers, you have just 9 workers or a little bit more, under 9 and 20, you just need a work representative. So that is just for you to keep in mind. The difference between a joint committee and a work representative, I will explain in the next slide. So on your composition, right, you have the worker representative is just 1 person. But when you have more than 20 workers, you must develop that group. So how you need to develop that group? Here on the that is on the Workers' Compensation Act as well, Part 2, Division 5, Section 33, they determine for you that you must have at least 4 members. And that will be consistent between half of them workers representative and half of them an employer representative. And also the committee needed to appoint 2 co-chairs, 1 for the worker side, 1 for the employer side, to keep the track of the meetings, to post meeting minutes on the board, that I will talk in a minute for you, to tell you how to do it. And also for our industry, which is very particular, if you have union's representative on your show, on your production, you should have that group represented in the joint committee as well. Okay, next slide, please. So here is another challenge for us to keep in mind. I know it's challenging on our industry, how to elect or appointing a joint committee members, especially on the work side, because on the employer side, you will define who you would like. The employer has the right to appoint who they want to have in the joint committee representing their side. But on the worker side, you should make sure that you have an election. Workers should have the right to participate between their three rights, right? And they may want to volunteer themselves to participate in the joint committee. So, and then if you have 6 people want to participate and you have just a spot for 2, because it's 2 worker side and 2 employer side, the other workers can choose between that 6 who will be representing them. So give that chance. It is part of the regulations, Workers' Compensation Act Division 5, Section 34, to elect the workers' representative. Although, if you don't have any volunteers, you don't have a way to select your workers. So the employer should appoint someone to represent the worker side. Okay, and of course, anytime that the board, a representative from the Worksafe PC, can just chat with them and ask for that evidence as well. How you invited people to be part of the joint committee, right? How that was announced. Do you have any evidence that anyone would like to participate? So they may request that that resource, that the evidence that you went through the process. Again, keep in mind, and unions representatives based on the contract or agreement that you have, you may need have all unions representing that union on the joint committee. Next, please. So here we go. You did, you know already who is joint committee, how to form them, and how to announce them. After you form them or you appoint them, the regulation tells us that we must post and keep posted two things only, right? The name of the joint committee members and also the location, work location. I know for us, sometimes we have groups that is not in the same place, such as construction site, it is in one place, and then you have circles in another place. So in these two places, in these two locations, you should have at least the name and the work location of the joint committee member, for people can reach out to them when they need to. Here you have an example of a safety board, right? Because that is also a requirement from WorkSafe BC to have a safety board with that information. But the regulation don't say anything about not be electronic. I saw in some workplaces that they use that electronic, and some officers accept that. I witnessed that, and was great to use the internet and all the technology in our favor, right? In the favor of safety. All right, next, please. So now talking about training, and that is very important for us to keep in mind. When I'm talking here about training, I'm talking for the joint committee members, which is over 20 workers in the workplace. The regulations say that for a joint committee member, they must receive at least 8 hours of instruction and training on safety, and as soon as practicable, right? Especially for the short-term productions, keep that in mind. It is as soon as practicable, but no more than 6 months. So some people get confused between, okay, within 6 months, no, it's as soon as practicable, but you can do that no more than 6 months after that person join the committee. So on note on that, Actsafe delivery that workshop. We have the workshop, Joint Health and Safety Committee Fundamentals, which it is very important for our industry because we take some case studies based on our industry, right? So we offer that. I think Lisa will be sharing that link with you if you'd like to take that course with us. We go through lots of resources such as, like I said, study cases, how to define in the regulation, what is your responsibilities. We go very in deep on that information. I think that is very important for you as well. On that note, on training, the regulations say you have 8 hours, need to be 8 hours of training on the joint committee fundamentals, and then you need to go to duties, responsibilities, and etc. And also, the person who is elected or appointed a joint health and safety committee member, they have extra 8 hours paid by the employer, by law, that you can work on your skills, on the safety skills, of course, safety. So Actsafe offers something that you guys may want to check it out to help you to develop your skills to be a very good member of the Joint Health and Safety Committee. So we provide an investigation course, incident investigation course, which helps the Joint Committee member deal with the process, what they need to look at, or how to work with the employer on interview, how to keep that confidentially, and etc. And another course that we provide that is very interesting for the joint committee members, it is inspections. So which it is part of the duties of the joint committee to do an inspection. So they need to know how to do it. Inspection get better after a while, right? It's a practice, but we teach you what to look at. We show you some tools that can help you with that as well. So I think I said enough on that part. Next, please. So what is the role of the joint committee member? I just touched a little bit on the inspection and investigation part of thing, but the joint committee, just for everybody that it is in this workshop, understand what they do and the limitations we will talk in the next slide. But for you to keep in mind, the joint committee, it is there to promote health and safety in the workplace. They will consult with workers and employers about health and safety. They will make recommendations to improve health and safety in the workplace, and also, of course, promote compliance with the Workers' Compensation Act and Actsafe BC OHS regulation. So this one, I would like to take a moment here, because on the Workers' Compensation Act, Division 5, Section 36, there is like A to J, a list of things that it is responsibility for the Joint Health and Safety Committee member. Like I just mentioned, on the investigation side, on the inspection side, they will be part of that. And for you to keep in mind that they will be part, it is their responsibility, but they do have some limitations, which I would like to highlight in the next slide, please. So the joint committee member, just for if I have some of them here in this workshop, I would like to highlight it. Do not try to do things that your employer has your employer is responsible under regulations. The joint committee member can advise, inform, suggest, recommend it, right? And improvements. However, they do not have the ability to implement suggested solutions. So even though you are going to your joint committee with a great suggestion, right? And your joint committee will bring that to the meeting, we'll discuss to the meeting, it's not up to them to implement that suggestion. So one way for you to make sure your suggestion it is accepted and it is informed afterwards, of course, you should receive a feedback through the minutes that you can take a look on the safety board. Make sure your suggestions is in the formal way, right? Try to look at the regulation. What does the regulation say about your suggestion? How you can support that suggestion? And then the joint committee can bring that to the employer, and the employer have 21 days to respond on that suggestion. And also, do not try to do things that your employer has the right to do. Right? Remember that staffing and other personal decisions, for example, are entirely up to the employer, such as, okay, we need to do fit testing, right? Who will do it? It is up to your employer define which contractor they think it is appropriate to be doing that. So they can contact Actsafe in this case, right? Hopefully we will bring that resources soon in-house, but we do have a partner who do that. But maybe they don't want to do with us. They would like to do with another company. So it's up to them to have that decision, okay? Just keep that in mind as a worker when you bring your suggestions or bring your recommendations, keep that in mind, okay? Next, please. So here it is, when you will interact with your joint committee member. So things that I just mentioned to you, the duties of the joint committee. During the inspection, the joint committee may go on your department, for example, right? They go on your department, they will do their inspection, but they don't know the process. You are the joint committee member is from construction side and they go on the hair and makeup trailer, doing inspection. So be kind with them, help them out to bring them suggestions, tell them your issues, and maybe they can bring that to the meetings. So it's very important for you to engage with them during that inspection. Investigation, right? In the process of the investigation, they may be involved on a certain steps. Maybe it is in the preliminary part of things. Maybe it's in the full investigation. They are trying to elaborate actions to prevent an accident not happen again. So be kind with them and talk with them and tell them your recommendations, suggestions. Although during inspection and investigation, they will reach out to you, you also can reach out to them, right? Here is very important key message that we would like to give to you right now. Always when you have some recommendations or suggestions, we also say share first with your supervisor, right? Because that could be faster implemented, right? Always go first with your supervisor. Your supervisor will try to adapt. And then if that suggestion wasn't accepted or wasn't taken care of the way that you were expecting to, you can share with the joint committee. You have that information on the safety board. So you go there and then you talk with them and then suggest, give them your suggestion. Another way that you can interact with the joint committee member will be in the process of refuse unsafe work. The joint committee will be involved on the step 2. If you don't know the steps, we will teach you that through the joint committee course. And also we have on our website a template that show you the steps of refuse unsafe work, which it is first step. When you refuse unsafe work, you will be talking with your supervisor. They will try to investigate and see how they can adapt that workplace, how they can adjust or improve the way to work on that activity. If they cannot, you provide a letter, and then the joint committee member will be involved. So they will try to resolve always with your supervisor first, and then the joint committee member will be involved afterwards. And then step 3, if you cannot resolve internally with your supervisor, with the joint committee, and then WorkSafe BC will be involved and try to investigate and see, analyze and investigate that situation. One thing that I didn't put on this slide, but I would like to mention here, the joint committee will be also involved on the process for working alone. There is several things that the joint committee will be involved, such as the workplace hazards material information system, and also on the working alone process, right? So they will be involved on that, and you may talk with them on that part as well. So next slide, please. So after you finish up, I just would like to wrap up with 2 things here. First of all, the evaluation of effectiveness. It is very important every employer take a look on their committee in the full year, because this is a year thing, for you to make sure you have effective work, effective joint committee members for the next time. So you should evaluate yearly an effectiveness of the joint committee. WorkSafe BC has this template to help you out, to take a look what you need to have implemented to be effective, right? So you can do this analysis many times as you want, but by regulation, you need to do that annually to make sure you are covering all the topics that is mandatory. And what I like about this evaluation tool, they explain which regulation it is related to that questions. So it's very important for you to take a look that before you implement your joint committee, and then you see what you may need to implement to be effective, effective. So take a look on that. Make sure you are working with your people. I have a message for the employers. Employers need to buy the idea of the joint committee, right? They need to buy the ideas because it's up to them to implement the ideas from the joint committee. So support your joint committee on that. And we have the effectiveness when we work together, right? It's not just the joint committee, it's not just the employer, it's all everybody doing their part. So on that end, I would like to present to you, next slide, please. We worked with, oops, I think you skipped one, yeah. Thank you. We worked, we received lots of questions related to joint committee, lots of questions. And because our industry is very dynamic and it's very specific, we have lots of unions involved, we have short-term of productions, how to deal with that. We have a fluctuation of workers. Maybe we start with 10 workers and then we finish with 100, how I can do that. So we elaborated 11 questions and answers for you. I would recommend you to scan this code and take a look, download it, our questions and answer. What is myth? What is fact? What you need? And although if we didn't answer your question, we are open to answer your questions. Just contact us. I think Trina will share with you in a moment our contact, but we did our best here to make sure you have all the information, basic information on the joint committee in our industry. So now that I just explained very briefly what is joint committee, I will back to Trina. She has an announcement, and after that we go for questions if you do have some. Thank you.
Just a reminder to everybody, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. In a couple minutes, we'll be going through and Natalie will be answering them. But before we do that, I have an announcement to make, which is very exciting. Actsafe has hired our newest safety advisor. His name is Dagan Nish, and he started yesterday. He's on the webinar today. He's got lots of great education. He's got a Bachelor of Arts from JIBC in Emergency and Security Management. He recently became a certified workplace psychological health and safety advisor. He has more training than I've ever seen anybody take. He told me he is a voracious bibliophile, which I had to Google. But he likes learning, in a nutshell. He's been working in the motion picture industry for 12 years, so that's the area he specializes in. And some of those years he was working as a health and safety consultant. He also volunteers for a few organizations, Vancouver Rape Relief, Gathering Place Community Center, and North Shore Emergency Management. He was also a co-chair for several years of a joint occupational health and safety committee, and sort of has participated from the worker perspective as well as a facilitator perspective. So welcome, Dagan.
Thank you so much, Trina. Yeah, hi everybody. I just wanted to just jump in for any questions that people might have, just for the fact that I have an extensive amount of experience in participating in committees as a worker representative and as like a third-party consultant. Sometimes committees don't realize that they have the opportunity to invite guests into their committees, depending on the issues that they're facing or particular risks in the production that they're working on, and that can be really advantageous. Even a safety advisor from Actsafe, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to come as guests and just lend ourselves as a third set of eyes, an outside set of eyes. But yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go to question and answer. It doesn't look, I think a lot of questions have been answered around like when the courses are taking place and that sort of thing.
Can I just highlighted this one? I think I didn't mention about the worker representative. For if you are joint committee member, of course you will take the 8 hours, but if you are just work representative, you just need 4 hours. So that's just for you to keep in mind, although I highly recommend for you, if you are just work representative, you take the full course, because it's very important to go through the full scope duties and responsibilities, right? I think that is very important, and take the other courses such as inspection and investigation for you to know how to do it and how to help your employer. Yeah, just highlight that one.
Thanks. And another key thing I wanted to let everybody know is when you ask a question, you can ask it either everyone, or if you want it to be confidential, you can just choose host and panelist, and then just the Actsafe team will see your question. So we have had 2 that have come in. First, I wanted to say with our training, even when courses are full, you can ask our education and training team for opportunities to do what we call private training, where we actually bring our training on site to your production. So we can do that as well, and bring, you know, Dagan or Natalie on site for 2 days and to educate your whole safety committee perhaps, and more. Okay. Let's see what our questions are. Are JOSH committees created per production or exist already within a production company?
Yeah, so I can touch on that. It's a great question, absolutely a great question. And it kind of depends by the nature of the production company and the turnaround for what they're creating. So for example, if it's a production company that's just rolling from one season to another of the same project, then they may in fact maintain the same joint health and safety committee in between, you know, from season to season, despite the hiatus. Versus another production company that remains in the same studio space, has the same production office staff, but is rotating from one production to another, like say a feature film to an episodic to a different feature film. Inevitably, some of those crews and some of those departments might come in with new union representatives, new shop stewards, which may then automatically plug into the joint health and safety committees for that given project, while some of the worker representatives or some of the production office staff may in fact just carry over from one to the next. So it can vary, and there can be some reasons why, as a committee, if you're a little concerned about continuity, or about maybe having other members be able to be funneled in and out, just to ensure that there's a little bit of changeover, you can actually have that put into your terms of reference for your committee, and that's what I found that's been really useful for certain projects and certain groups.
Thanks, Deegan. And another question is more about our training. How much notice will be given when courses are open and have seats? We're trying to do it with as much notice as possible. So all of our Q2, our April, May, June courses should be booked. But then again, if you want to do a private training, we can get that going. But we're hoping to move towards a model where we plan at least 3-6 months out. So the best way what to do is subscribe to our newsletter and then watch for our emails, and you'll be the first to know. But if ever industry's demand outweighs what we have booked, then we add new sessions. So definitely get on wait lists and let us know what you're interested in, and we'll make sure that we meet that industry demand. Are there other types of courses for JOSH committees?
Yeah, I think I can touch that one. We do have the fundamentals, which is 8 hours. Like I mentioned, we go through duties and functions, what the limitation of your responsibilities. We do a big exercise on that just to make sure joint committee members understand their responsibilities, and when they are limitations such as they cannot enforce safety, right? They can recommend, they can suggest, they can advise on that soft way. But like I mentioned, we do have an investigation course that we just launched, was launched last in the beginning of the month. I think was on February 1st, something like that, March 1st. Which is very important for the joint committee members. Use that extra 8 hours, right? Like I said, like I mentioned, you have extra 8 hours to work on yourself on safety, and that course is 4 hours. And we do have an inspection course, which is very important, which is part of the duties of the joint committee members to do an inspection, right? So they need to know how to do it, what they can use. We will share several checklists to help you out with that responsibility. It is also, I think it's 3 or 4 hours course, which will help you to get some skills, tips for you how to do that. So these 2 courses we provide, and then it is part of the duties of the Joint Committee member.
Thanks, Natalie. So another question, can an employee be an employer rep on the JHSC committee?
Yeah, fair question. Again, I think just by the nature of the committees and how, you know, the dynamics of filmmaking can pull people in so many directions. It's like, oh, we got the meeting, somebody's got to go in there, oh, throw and so they'll be the employer rep. But long answer short, no. The function of the employer rep is really to exercise, you know, certain levels of authority for budgetary concerns or budgetary exercise. So if they're being told that there's a concern that has to be remedied by spending of some kind, contracting a vendor or something, then the employer representative has to have the ability and authority to take that and exercise it. So in my experience, it would usually be the production manager, the line producer, sometimes the showrunner if they're really engaged from a safety standpoint. But those would usually be the 3 the roles that would be representing the employer rep side of things on a joint health and safety committee.
Thanks, Dagan.
Yeah, my
Next
pleasure.
question. Is there any concern with productions that do not hire a safety person and place a production office member onto the job task of safety with no training whatsoever, including completing forms and investigations?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there's a reason to have concern there. Just thinking of the function of the Joint Health and Safety Committee, like if the person doesn't have the information to know what regulations and what provisions they're meant to be monitoring for effectiveness, then they can't really do the job. That being said, you know, I like to leave room to believe that the right person for the job is the one who's there to do the job. And so sometimes you might find Joint Health and Safety Committee members that have all of the training in the world and are just becoming really complacent for having been doing it so long, versus someone who's kind of rising up, maybe doesn't have that work experience, but has all the initiative and all the drive to do the job if given the chance. And so really, I think to make sure that you're insulating the Joint Health and Safety Committee from one problem to the other is just to be really clear on what your role responsibilities are, and to be effective at asking for those responsibilities to upheld from both sides, the employer and the worker. And that's where this training really comes in hand, because then you know exactly what it is to ask for and how to do so effectively and impartially.
I just would like to add something here. Although we do have a regulation to form a Joint Health and Safety Committee members and defined how many hours we do have for training, and also you have the extra training, mandatory training and extra training, which is up to the worker to take or not. We don't have the definition for safety professionals, unfortunately, here in Canada. So that is a point for you just to keep in mind. We do have a requirement for the Joint Committee members, but we do not have a requirement for safety professionals. So that is up to the employer.
Mm-hmm. But if the person that asked that, if you are that person that's been chosen and you don't feel comfortable, taking on that role, please connect with my team. Leverage them. Yeah. Ask them to come on site and help you and help answer your questions and participate in the JHSC and get you feeling comfortable. And there's no cost. So next question. When doing the other courses, do we receive certificates? I think it depends.
Yeah, yes. Well, with us, yes. You receive a certification of participation, right? You do have that when you take a course with us, or you have the STAR profile with your certificate from the Joint Committee, is a certificate of participation. I think the operations team, it is better to answer that question, but I will try to do my best. You have, for example, if you take the fundamentals with us, which is a requirement from WorkSafe BC, you will have that on your profile. If you take the investigation course and the inspection course, you have the certificate of participation, okay? It's not like a certificate from a college or university, but it is valid, and then it is part of the package from safety side.
And as part of having a profile on our STAR system, our learning management system, I think it stands for safety and training.
Safety training and registration.
There you go. Or records. What you can do is you can, your certificates can be put into your profile. And if you check a little box that says you give Actsafe the ability to publish your safety records, then an employer can go on our website and actually look up who's taken what training and that sort of thing. And so it'll make it easier for employers to check people's training records. And I think it would help you be more employable to kind of show just how much training you've taken. Other questions? What does an initial site visit cost? Nothing. Nothing. I really want to be clear because sometimes this gets confusing to people. We are not WorkSafe BC. That is a completely separate entity. They enforce, they do all that. We're a nonprofit society, so it's my job to find funding. It's my safety team to just deliver as much as they can, mostly free of charge, if not somewhat subsidized. But to be very clear, a site visit to have Dagan or Natalie come to your production site doesn't cost anything. Okay, what else? I just hear sweetness. That's perfect. Thank you. Any other questions for the team?
Cool.
Oh, at a music school. Yep, we'll come to your music school too. Yep. And they can come and do presentations too, you know, to the students if you want. Any other questions before we wrap up? Lisa, can you go to the next slide, please? So I'll do a quick little promotion. Our next webinar is going to be on slips, trips, and falls for prevention for BC arts and entertainment workers. It's one of our top incident trends that happens. Dagan will be leading the delivery of this webinar, and it's on June 9th at 10 a.m. You can use your phone to scan that QR code and register. But in the email that's sent out with the recording as well as the survey, I believe you can, there'll be a link there too. If not, just make sure to sign up for our e-newsletter because that's the best way to stay informed. We do not spam. We only send a newsletter once a month, and it's chock full of information and course dates and all that. And then the final slide, this is all of our contact details. So if you want to, if you come from the motion picture side, you can email motionpicturesafety@actsafe.ca. If you come from performing arts or live events, performingartssafety@actsafe.ca. If you don't know, just send an email to one of those email addresses. Our website is full of information. Follow us on all our socials. And the big one is our newsletter. So thank you all very much for your time. And thank you, Dagan and Natalie, for sharing your knowledge with the industry. And I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend.